In today's video we are going to talk about 5 of the most significant volcanic eruptions to date. The 1991 eruption of Mount Pinatubo in the Philippines was one of the most significant volcanic eruptions of the 20th century. It began on June 12, 1991, with a series of earthquakes and ash eruptions. The eruption reached its climax on June 15, when a massive eruption column reached a height of 22 kilometers and produced pyroclastic flows, ash fall, and lahars, volcanic mudflows. The eruption had a significant impact on the surrounding area, causing widespread destruction and loss of life. An estimated 800 people were killed, and more than 200,000 were left homeless. The eruption also caused significant damage to infrastructure, including roads, bridges, and buildings. The ash and sulfur dioxide injected into the stratosphere also had a significant impact on the global climate. The eruption injected an estimated 20 million tons of sulfur dioxide into the stratosphere, which led to a decrease in global temperatures by about half a degree Celsius and caused a volcanic winter effect that lasted for several years. Additionally, the eruption caused the evacuation of Clark Air Base, one of the largest U.S. military bases in the Pacific, and the relocation of several other military bases and civilian communities. The eruption of the volcano on the island of Thera, also known as Santorini, which occurred around 1613 BC, is one of the largest volcanic eruptions in recorded history. The eruption is believed to have had a volcanic explosivity index of 6 or 7, which is similar to the eruption of Mount Pinatubo in 1991. The eruption caused widespread destruction on the island of Thera, as well as on the nearby island of Crete and the coastal towns of the eastern Mediterranean. The eruption created a massive caldera, which is now filled by the sea. The eruption also generated tsunamis that swept over the nearby coast. The eruption is thought to have had a significant impact on the Minoan civilization, which was at its peak at the time. It has been suggested that the eruption may have played a role in the collapse of the Minoan civilization, although the evidence for this is not conclusive. The eruption also caused a volcanic winter effect, where the ash and sulfur dioxide injected into the stratosphere caused a decrease in global temperatures. This may have led to crop failures and famine, which would have further contributed to the collapse of the Minoan civilization. The Toba eruption was a supervolcanic eruption that occurred on the island of Sumatra, Indonesia, around 74,000 years ago. It is considered one of the largest eruptions in the last 25 million years, with an estimated volcanic explosivity index of 8. This means that the eruption was so large that it released more than 1,000 cubic kilometers of ash and tephra, also known as rock fragments. The eruption created the Toba caldera, which is now filled by Lake Toba. The ash and tephra from the eruption covered an area of at least 2 million square kilometers, and reached as far as the Indian subcontinent and the southern hemisphere. The eruption also generated pyroclastic flows and tsunamis that swept over the surrounding coast. The effects of the eruption on human populations are still debated among scientists, but it is suggested that the eruption led to a volcanic winter effect. This could have led to a significant reduction in human population and a genetic bottleneck, which means a drastic reduction in genetic diversity. It is also suggested that the eruption may have played a role in the development of human culture and religion, as it has been linked to the emergence of the cultural Big Bang and the development of symbolic thinking in humans. The 1883 eruption of Krakatoa, also known as Krakatau, was one of the most powerful volcanic eruptions in recorded history. The eruption occurred on the island of Krakatoa, located between the islands of Java and Sumatra in Indonesia. The eruption began on May 20, 1883, with a series of earthquakes and ash eruptions, and reached its climax on August 27, 1883, with a series of massive explosions. The eruption had a volcanic explosivity index of 6, which means it released more than 10 cubic kilometers of ash and tephra. The eruption created a massive ash cloud that reached a height of 80 kilometers and covered an area of more than 800,000 square kilometers. The eruption also generated pyroclastic flows, lahars also known as volcanic mudflows, and tsunamis that swept over the surrounding coast. The tsunamis, which reached a height of more than 40 meters in some areas, caused widespread destruction and loss of life. An estimated 36,417 people were killed, and the entire island of Krakatoa was destroyed. The eruption also had a significant impact on the global climate. The ash and sulfur dioxide injected into the stratosphere caused a decrease in global temperatures and a volcanic winter effect that lasted for several years. The eruption also caused spectacular sunsets and colorful skies that were visible around the world for several years after the eruption. The 1815 eruption of Mount Tambora, located on the island of Sumbawa, Indonesia, was one of the most powerful volcanic eruptions in recorded history. The eruption began on April 5, 1815, with a series of earthquakes and ash eruptions, and reached its climax on April 10, 1815, with a massive eruption column that reached a height of 80 kilometers and produced pyroclastic flows, ash fall, and lahars. The eruption had a volcanic explosivity index of 7, which means it released more than 100 cubic kilometers of ash and tephra. The ash and tephra from the eruption covered an area of more than 50,000 square kilometers and reached as far as the Indian subcontinent and the southern hemisphere. The eruption also generated tsunamis that swept over the surrounding coast. The eruption caused widespread destruction and loss of life. An estimated 92,000 people were killed, and the entire island of Sumbawa was devastated. The eruption also had a significant impact on the global climate. The ash and sulfur dioxide injected into the stratosphere caused a decrease in global temperatures and a volcanic winter effect that lasted for several years. This led to significant crop failures, famine, and death worldwide, particularly in the Northern Hemisphere and particularly in Europe and North America, where it caused the year without a summer in 1816. Thanks for watching. We hope volcanoes interest you as much as they fascinate us.